Sometimes the little things are the big things. That was a broken bolt in here to hold this fender on. I'm getting ready to start building fender frames and need to get it out. Welded a washer on the end of that and then a nut on the outside of that. Hit it with some WD-40. She came right out. Now we can start building fenders. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the shop. We got the radiator pretty well mounted yesterday, and I'm gonna, since I'm already kind of on aluminum mode right now, we're going to start building fender frames. So I've got some 1/4 thick by 1.5 inch wide flat bar. I got 24 feet of that, and then I got 12 feet of the 1.5 inch 8th wall aluminum tubing. I'm gonna build the frames out of that, and then we'll just be skinning them with that sheet up there. So that's our game plan. Kind of been looking at my green Jeep, trying to figure out, since I lifted this cowl, things are gonna be a little bit weird, and I gotta figure out how I'm gonna make it all work right. But we'll see. Just gonna kind of start building what I know, and then we'll figure out the hard part later. I'm gonna take a pause and take a break here to ask if you like what you're seeing, what you're watching. Go on down and hit that like and subscribe button. I can use every little bit that I get. Thanks, guys. All right, guys, I've been sucking at keeping up on video, so I apologize. All I've done is made some measurements. I ran that extra long because I put that 3.5 inch lift on the cowl, and so that's what I'm trying to figure out, is how this fender is going to work, or how the hood's going to work. Fender will be here. If I, build the hood down, it's going to try and drag on that as it goes up. But I have seen Brennan Metcalf with his Highline hood cut, that he has been able to trim that enough to where it'll clear the fender. It's not quite as much of a cut. I think he's 2 or 2.5 inches, and I've got 3.5. So I'm gonna look at doing that. Otherwise, I might just end up building or piecing the body in right here and making it come all the way out so it'll look like a factory 2A hood. We'll just have to see when I get to that point. But for now, this one here, I've just got it clamped in place. I gotta figure out where the bolt holes go on it. Get those pieces bolted on, and then I'll start looking at the rest of what I gotta do. All right, we got our step piece welded on right there. I gotta drill a hole out here on this edge and get that bolted. And then that there, I still gotta get drilled and get it bolted on. And then I'm lost on what else I gotta do. If nothing else, I'm at least making a mess. Aluminum all over the floor. I got that bolted on finally. The problem is this top bolt hole, there's actually going to be a tube welded over that, and I can't exactly weld a steel nut into an aluminum bar, so I gotta figure something out there. Didn't video while I was bending this tubing because I was struggling so hard. It kept getting stuck in the die, and I went ahead and finally got this side done and made some marks, and I cut it the wrong direction. So now that's the driver's side hoop. There's our passenger side hoop, and I can't put it up on the body like I want to for mocking up, so I actually need to cut it off. I'm trying to figure out exactly where to cut it at, how long. So yeah, just struggling like crazy. Got clamps everywhere. Everything wants to fall apart or fall down. Nothing's heavy. It's just you can't clamp it anywhere. So it's really starting to drive me nuts. And yeah, when I'm frustrated, I don't want the camera catching it all on video. All right. Well, it took a while, a lot of cussing. I finally got a couple tack welds put on that piece. I'm starting to figure out this rear angle, which I don't like, but it's gonna work. I need to get this pushed down a little. I think I cut my piece a little bit too short, is what's going on here. Because I measured to here at a steeper angle with the tape when I needed to lay it out a little further. So, yeah, we'll see. I might be able just to cheat it up a little bit, because I'm going to be cutting and stuff down there, cutting and welding on it anyway. I might be able to make this work. So, all right, well, got our part of the frame finished. It's that part's all welded out. I have this other pipe here, this other chunk of tube that goes in here, and I gotta find the angle and miter that and weld it up. But I wanted to get the other parts just a little bit more finished, because it was just tacked and I didn't want things to get bumped and twist and move and fall apart and all that stuff. So went ahead and welded out what I had. I'll get that one set, and might wait for tomorrow for that one. It's getting kind of late tonight, but yeah, it's coming along. I almost have one fender, and then I'll have to have my dad or someone come help me get that sheet out, and so I can cut the fender skins. But not too bad. That fender weighs about 3 pounds. It's really light, and I'm happy with it so far. So not too bad. So I want to say thanks to everyone for watching. I appreciate it. Like, share, subscribe, leave comments. We'll keep going. Thanks. Welcome back, everyone. I been down for a couple of weeks, just trying to take it easy. I think I was going a little bit too much there. Feeling a lot better, so getting back out and trying to work on small stuff, lightweight stuff. I figured I'd just show you what I got going on. So my welds are hideous. I ended up cutting this piece too short and having to, put in a pie cut piece, and yeah, it's up under the fender. I'll be touching it up. Still learning how to TIG weld, but whatever. Straightened that fender up, realized I'd screwed up, had to cut it back off down here and actually move the tube to the back of the bar here, because I wasn't thinking when I welded it. Had to cut this weld back open and pinch it tight at the top to flatten this fender in to match up that angle. But I'd say it looks pretty good now. Got the rest of this welded up. This fender is essentially bolted on. I am going to drill one more hole up here and bolt it through, since I can't use the factory hole. And then I got to drill one down there at the bottom of the step too. Trying to make sure that the fenders are level with each other. I've got a piece of tubing all the way across there. I have a jack under the Jeep because the floor's not level and the suspension wasn't sitting level, so I jacked up till the frame was level, and then I'm building my fenders level frame-wise. So that's the best I could come up with. Trying to get this thing sitting where I can, hanging from wire, lined up down the body. There's a bad wowie in the middle of the body I'm going to try to address later. So I'm trying to make the fender straight to the back of the tub and not so much the middle of the tub. And then yeah, got the front. This is the one I screwed up cutting the first time, but it matches this side a lot better than I ended up getting the other side to match. So having built one, you can find the shortcomings of what you did, and the second one should go easier, I'm really hoping. So I'm going to try and lock everything down with clamps everywhere and keep it from moving, and then hopefully I can pull this clamp off and tack this this front bar. Once that's tacked, then I can try and do a little bit more, because that needs to be pretty strong, because I have to cut this off and make my down bar to the bottom of the step. So lots to do, but at least it's light duty and not hard, just time consuming, and just make sure to take it easy. Anyway, so that's where we are right now. Progress is going to be really slow. It takes more time to jig everything up than it does to actually tack it and weld it. So I don't really think I'm going to video all of it, just because it's boring, and I have to stop so often that it's not really worth it. So I'll just try and keep you guys, in the loop as we go, and I'll show you the finished product once we're done. But yeah, hopefully we can get these fenders built and then start on the hood, which the hood I've got, it's the same stuff I'm using for the fenders. It's 1/4 by 1.5 inches. I'm gonna build a frame for the hood all the way around, and then try and sheet it in with the 16 gauge aluminum. So hopefully it's heavy enough. I really don't want to buy another sheet, buy some 3/32 or 1/8 inch, but I will if I need to, if that stuff's just not strong enough. I'm hoping with the frame and the continuous roll over the hood, it's not completely flat on the hood. There's a little bit of an arch and then 2 tapered rolled bends that I'm hoping it will be able to hold its shape well enough. So we'll find out when we get to that point, but we got to have fenders done first. All right, so last night I was about to throw in the towel, ripping my hair out because I could not get this driver's side fender figured out where I have to cut it to make the brake. And I figured, all right, finish the day, sweep up, go inside, start a new day tomorrow. Well, as soon as I got swept up, I looked at it and it dawned on me what I needed to do. So I got it cut, and best I can tell, laying a straight edge over the top of the engine to the other fender over there is these should be dang near exactly the same. Based off measurements and stuff, that was one thing I did, was I kept measuring to the wrong point and not transferring right, and things weren't looking right. Then I eyeballed it and looked at another mark I'd already made, and it was actually good. So we got this part here all tacked. It's not fully welded yet. I only welded the top. I'm gonna take it off to weld the bottom. Got to finish welding this all up. That's just a really heavy tack, and it's heavy tacked in the front. I'm gonna be removing this bar here that was to make sure that the fenders were level, because I need 28.5 inches of this or something like that to go from here to here. So I need to do that. I'll get that all tacked together and then pull it out, get it welded up, and hopefully my dad isn't too busy today. I'll have him come down and throw this sheet on sawhorses for me. It's not very heavy, it's just really bulky and I can't do it myself. So hopefully he can come help me with that, and it'd be awesome to have these things skinned today, or at least one of them partially skinned. All right, we're ready to start welding. So that's as tight as I could get my fit up on that, which it's not bad. This piece of tubing is actually only 1/16 wall, and the rest of it was 1/8. My metal supplier was out of 1/8 wall, and this bar isn't really needed for structure other than holding the inner fender up. So I told him 1/16 would work for that bar, and I can use some of that 1/16. I'm gonna make another port for the radiator. I gotta cut this one off. I think I'm gonna dual pass the radiator, so cut it and cap it and move the port to the other side and put a blocker in the tank. While I'm doing that, I'm gonna change the lower port size to make it easier to get a hose for it. It's a really oddball. I ordered one and it showed up wrong. Anyways, but yeah, got good fit up on the rest of this stuff. I'm gonna tack it, and then I'll probably take the bandsaw and nip the corners off of here, and then I'll go ahead and weld it all. But while it's sitting there nicely, I think I'm gonna just go ahead and throw a tack or two, and then I'll pull the whole thing out and weld it up. But she's looking good, looking real good. Got us another fender. Went ahead and welded it up. Finished welding it off camera. Still got to drill hole right here and pull that up where it's supposed to be. Same thing on the other side. And then these top bolts here, I couldn't thread or weld a nut in there and run the bolt in from the back side. So I'm gonna have to come down here and re-drill another one. And that'll be our top bolt on each side. So we got that. My dad showed up and laid this sheet down for me so I can start mapping out fender skins. And once I have the fender skins, then I'm gonna start working on the hood. You gotta love it when you start looking at things and realize, might not work after all. That Hydroboost unit, I think, is gonna hit the back of the fender right there. It's gonna be really close. So I'm kind of messing with the pedals. Got the throttle pedal here, which I'm gonna have to do something different there. That thing swings a long ways. I'll figure that out. The brake pedal, I think I can move it over further. I had it quite a ways over, so I think I'll be able to mount it where that Hydroboost unit can clear. But it's kind of hard because that Hydroboost unit has all that stuff hanging out the back of it right now, and I can't really lift it myself, so I gotta wait till I have help and try and set it up into place and see where it's gonna fit. If it ain't one thing, it's another. Oh well, it's the fun of building. All right, everyone, welcome back. I have not done anything for quite a while. Some updates. My son decided to show up 25 days early. He's healthy and home, and everything's good. I was just kind of cleaning around in the shop out here, and anyone that knows me knows I'm terrible at cleaning because I get distracted too easy. And so I cleaned up some, and then I got to look, and that Hydroboost unit really needed to be mounted, I guess. So got it on there. It actually does fit. It'll fit under the hood. I'm gonna be making a new pedal for this. I'm gonna keep the upper and cut this whole bottom section off and build a nicer looking pedal that hides in there better, but for now it will work. I'm gonna be doing a different throttle pedal as well, but for now that one will work. It's ugly. And then I gotta get steering column through all of that sometime too. But yeah, kind of just putzing around, doing little stuff. I wanted to get that Hydroboost mounted before I started skinning my fenders, because I honestly thought it was going to hit the back of the fender right there. But we got about a 1/4 inch clearance, so it's good for that, and I'll figure out a skin on that. Otherwise, the fender frames are built. Got to put in a couple of riv nuts to the grill for the upper bolt, since I couldn't reuse the factory upper bolt. Got to put a couple riv nuts in for the radiator mount and get that done. Cut the tabs off the top of the cooler and build a top shroud piece for that. And yeah, just a lot of smaller stuff, smaller time consuming stuff to get done, but at least it's coming along. Okay, now obviously we got a conglomeration of parts here. We've got a GM power steering pump, a Ford Hydroboost unit, and a Jeep steering box. And I'm not kidding, the lines that I had that came with the engine, or with the GM and the Ford, I didn't really have anything other than some short lines that had been cut off for the Jeep. But I had to remove an adapter piece here, but the GM line screws into the Hydroboost there. And then we come out of that with a Ford line that goes down, and it happens to be the same as the Jeep pressure side. So that feeds out there just fine. And then that is the return side on the Jeep, I believe. And I'm gonna run it down to a cooler, and then the cooler back to the port on the bottom of the power steering pump. And then we've got this one here too, that's just a return as well. So sorry. There's one return, and there's the other return down there. Can't really see too well, there you go. But yeah, I have all the pressure fittings that I need on these hoses. They're not shaped right. I'm going to be reshaping those, getting them to lay down a little nicer. But I don't have to have custom lines built. I can make these work. It's a lot of savings. Gotta love it when things like that surprise you, because I was not looking forward to having all these high pressure lines built to make these 3 separate companies' parts work together. But they did, so that's awesome. So anyways, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, and if you're not subscribed, why aren't you? Get subscribed. See you later.